hamstring 101 session, the reasons that the hamstrings get tight for runners, and also how to quickly release those hamstrings, specifically with a few exercises utilizing a tennis ball or like-minded ball that you may have around the house, like a cat ball or a dog ball, etc. and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to wake up the hamstrings. We're going to do a 10-minute specialist zone into the actual hamstrings themselves, and something that you can apply after maybe a Tuesday interval session, a hard race, where you've worked quite intensely, and we'll move on from there. So first things first, we're going to start off by waking up the hamstrings and just loosening them off. We're going to kick forwards into a straight leg in front. You can bend the leg behind the back that we typically do in Personify dynamic exercises, but primarily we're going to look to kick that leg in front of your body. Now, as you're doing this, it's really thinking about what the hamstrings do and why they get tight. So the hamstrings are responsible for deceleration. So what happens is as you straighten that leg, you're running, and you have to slow down at the end of an interval and changing legs, your hamstrings are recruited to allow that slowing down process. So if you think about repeating a multiple rep session, like 6 times a few minutes, etc. and so forth, they're going to have to slow down after each of those reps. They're going to have to decelerate. They're going to have to really be engaged, and therefore they get tighter. The faster you run, the more they have to wake up. So best thing to do, especially first thing in the morning, if you're applying this live on the session, or maybe a replay early in the morning, is to get some blood flow around the joint. You do that with dynamic stretching, just like we're doing now. One leg in front, scooping under. So you're shortening, lengthening the area without impact. Lovely job. Okay. Second part of the hamstrings is the day-to-day grind. So what I mean by that is how you rotate at the knees and at the hips. So rotating forwards, like we're doing here, for a long period of time is like holding a plank for the hamstrings. The plank, if you were to hold for more than a few minutes, you'd feel it in the core, right? If you have a sort of stuck posture, keep that going, guys. Lovely. I'm going to show you in a moment on the chair. And if you've got a hard chair today, that will really help with the motion itself. Otherwise, we'll have to make the most of a step. If you've got a hard chair, maybe like a garden chair or a firm living room chair, that'd be great. Brilliant. Drive the legs up. So this bend at the knee here, as you have into that position, means that the hamstrings are in a different position to when they're standing. So they connect here behind the knee, keep driving those knees up, and they come up to the top of your hip towards your lower back. Okay? So when we're running and we're getting this motion in here, they're lifting the legs up, bringing it behind the body, your hamstrings are shortening, lengthening. Now let's grab a seat. So if you've got a seat there, ideally, if you've got a sofa, would be great. So if you've got a relatively firm ground, that's brilliant. If you've got a tennis ball, show me now, live team. Nice work. Okay, good. I love that. Yes, throw it at each other. What we're going to do here is you're going to notice a couple of things. You sit down here, your feet on the ground. If you relax back into a curved lower back, your hamstrings now are jolted out of their original position. And if they stay in this position with a curved lower back, they are going to often, especially you're typing, traveling, tired, etc. and so forth, they're going to start to feel strain towards that lower back, but also over lengthening of the hamstrings, like pulling for a long period of time. What I want you to do is get that ball and just place it just in the groove of your glutes as your bottom heads over towards your legs, to the top of your hamstrings. Then sit down on that, lift that leg up, so it's just perched on the ball, okay? This is on the tendon or the ischial tuberosity, posh words, aspects of the hamstrings, okay? So what you do now is place a hand on top of that leg. Just like on the foam roller, you're now in control of how much pressure you put down onto the ball. You put as much as you feel. If it feels quite good today, you're not getting too much issues with the hamstrings, place a little bit more pressure onto that leg, so that, and then lean slightly further forwards, you'll feel that hamstrings, or the top of the hamstrings potentially feel a little bit tighter, or more importantly here, we're going to focus on the rolling. If that feels sort of a poor balance, place your hands on either side of the leg and repeat this motion. Straighten your leg and then bend it so the heel comes underneath your knee. Repeat that motion, touching down with your heel as it reaches the floor and under the knee. Continue that motion. And if you want to increase lightly the pressure through the top of the hamstrings, lean forwards. Remember, we're looking at the top of the hamstrings as you follow the back of your leg up and just before the bum. Place that there. The harder the ball, the more intense this will be. The more you lean forwards or onto that ball or pressure down on that leg, the more intense it will be. We're not looking for pain here. We're looking to lightly stretch out the hamstrings whilst securing it in place, and therefore doing a specialist rolling motion through an area that doesn't get as much blood flow as the main parts there. Okay, move that slightly to the outside, lean across the ball, and this time your legs should be slightly into your body. So your toes are angled slightly here. I can show you from a slightly different angle. So like so. And you can just target a different area of the hamstrings. Okay, change sides, place onto the other side, just at the top. Does that feel tighter or looser than the first one? Again, you're in control of the pressure. If it's too much, push up on the chair and just do this lightly. If it needs a little bit more, then lean into it. But the facial expression shouldn't change. Very similar to the foam rolling as well. Okay, lovely. Head over to the outside of the hamstrings. Your ball shouldn't disappear off the chair. So just tilting that leg slightly in to secure the ball itself. Guys, this is a specialist foam rolling area for the hamstrings. And this is something that we look to target as an issue if you have done more intervals recently or you're recovering or wanting to release the hamstrings themselves. Okay, brilliant work. Lovely. So ball aside for the moment. We're going to still use that chair. We're just going to place it there for a second. We're going to kick our legs back, drive our legs up. Brilliant. Okay. Next up, before we get you to make the most of the chair for a static stretch, we're going to wake up the adductors and some of the stabilizers here with some lateral movement. So you're going to bring your leg across your body with your leg swings. Okay. We're done with the ball now. You can throw it across the room if you need to. That's all good. Lovely. Keep that swinging across. One. And change legs. Really make sure both sets of toes are facing forwards. And you're just drawing a line in front of the standing legs' toes. Okay, nice and tall. 2 and 1. Brilliant. That chair that we had there, we're going to use next. So for this one, you're going to place your leg up onto that chair. That chair should be about knee height, ideally. Okay. And you're going to lightly just hinge from the hips and feel those hamstrings tighten. Okay, as you go into that motion, the hamstrings are now lengthened. We're going to hold this one for 15 seconds here. Lovely. Okay, bring your toes out to the side. So you're pointing them away from the inside of the body. Bring your hands to the inside of the leg and just lean forwards towards your hands. Lovely. This static stretch is now stretching a different area of your hamstrings. There is 3 key hamstrings. Anatomy and physiology lesson as well today. So those 3 all need to be targeted in mobility and strength. If one of them is extra flexible and the others aren't, so bring your toes into the inside, hands to the outside, and that's going to affect your deceleration process, but also how those hamstrings feel at the end of the joint behind the knee, towards the top of your glutes, moving right through that motion onto your hips. Lovely. Let's change legs. We're starting off in the middle. Hips neutral, so facing directly forwards. Then we just hinge forwards towards those toes, keeping that leg straight throughout these 3 exercises. So first things first, how to prevent hamstring niggles reoccurring. Toes out to the side, hands on the inside. First thing is to understand the source. What are you doing differently in your day-to-day life or in that one aspect before it started to get tight that led for it to happen? Had you increased the intensity of your running? Or is it a lifestyle aspect as you bring your toes to the inside, hands to the outside, lean forwards, where you have maybe traveled longer or done some work on a laptop on the sofa rather than at a desk? What has changed that has led to it? So how can I prevent that from happening again? Fantastic. Okay, so that was just our initial part for today, guys. How to make the most of a simple sort of tennis ball or something similar with recovering the hamstrings. Hopefully you found that useful. We're going to crack on and get some movement into the calves, the glutes, and other areas now. So we're going to lean onto that chair. You're going to place your heels back. Again, that chair should be around about knee height. And that allows you, as you push your feet back and your heels back, to get some mobility into your calves. Again, waking up the calves. So we're focusing here on just getting a bit of blood stimulation through that area. Heel to the floor, up onto your toes, repeat and alternate legs. Fantastic walking. Lovely, push your back, mid-back high, and just roll onto your toes. Heel to toe, minimal calf, soleus, rolling into that motion itself. Okay, lovely job, really good. Fantastic. Okay, so after our motion, after our aspects with the hamstrings, we're going to do our check-in. I want to see if this is better than you're usually doing. Everyone on this call has been to a mobility session before or seen replays. So what I want you to do is place your feet together here, hands on top of the leg. Rather than comparing yourself to this session, I want you to think about your typical hamstring motions normally. Lean forwards. Is your starting point further than you normally